Hi everyone.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
I was trying to reconnect there. Hello everybody.
Bit of a dodgy signal there
Signal.
for a moment there, yeah. Well, welcome to Sunday Night Satsang with John and
Michelle. Hi.
Good evening. Yeah, we weren't with you last week and we did miss you. And here we are once again, and hopefully you're here with us as well. We can't see anyone joining at the moment.
Not yet.
Not yet.
And they don't come up on the screen anymore for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, for some reason, yeah. If you are here, and if you have joined, please just send us a comment. And we've got a little heart there. We love getting
likes,
the hearts.
So that means that someone's there. That's nice.
It's always nice to know we're talking to someone. Yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving up a little bit of your Sunday evening to be with us in this space. And that's very much what we're going to be talking about tonight, is the power of the pause, the power of the space. So welcome everyone. Yeah, hello Claire, all the way from Harare.
Hi, Gina.
Hello
Welcome.
Gina. Yeah, hi. Hi. Yeah, we'd like to know who we're talking to and where you're from. So just let us know.
Cecilia.
Cecilia.
Hi.
Hello Cecilia. Good evening. Okay, hello.
Great.
Yeah. We always like to get comments and then we can see, because we can't see. We used to see who was online, but now for some reason they've disabled
taken that feature out.
So now we can't see who's online.
But it's nice to know that we're not just talking to fresh air.
Yeah, yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about the power of the pause, which is something that's so overlooked by the mind, and yet it's so incredibly powerful in our lives. Hello, who's that? Elaine from PE, and who is that from Ireland?
Hi, Beverly. Zebra, hello. Elaine. Hi.
Elaine.
Beverly from Ireland.
Welcome. Beverly from Ireland. Hello, hello, hello.
Great.
So let's start this evening, as we always do, by doing a little bit of centeringness, withdrawing our mind from the weekend, from the story of the day and the story of our lives, and just become present in this very time and very place. But before we shut our eyes tonight, I just want you to do a very short little exercise. I want you to just look around the room, or wherever you are right now, just look around the room and see what is really precious to you. Just look around and see what's really precious. Look around and see what's very, very valuable. Just note the monetary value or the emotional value or whatever it is.
Sentimental value.
Sentimental value. Yeah. Yeah. Just have a look around. Now just gently close your eyes. Close your eyes and just center yourselves into the here and now. Become aware of the chair or the bed or the floor, whatever you're sitting or lying on. Just become aware of that. Just feel that sensation coming into your body. Our body receives millions of signals every moment, and yet we filter most of them out. And only when we draw our attention to something is that information allowed into our awareness. So right now we're going to allow the information of the floor under our feet, the chair or the bed that we're sitting or lying on, into our awareness. We're going to feel that physical sensation coming into our bodies. We're going to take a very deep breath in now. Very deep breath and a very long out breath. And as we breathe out, we release all other times and all other places and just sink down deeper into the physical body. Take a second, very deep breath in. This time pushing your belly button right the way out as you breathe in. So you're breathing from the lower diaphragm. And as you breathe out, just a lovely sigh out. Just sigh everything out, and you might like to shrug your shoulders a little bit. Take a third, very deep breath in. Right down to your toes this time and up to the top of your head. So you're really blowing your body up like a huge big ball. And then a lovely, long, releasing, soft sigh out. Just let it all go, let it all go. Now we're just going to, for a moment, draw on the power of our memory and imagination. And we're going to bring back into our awareness that room that we looked around and the objects that we identified as valuable. Now I want you to notice that there was something that was possibly more precious than that which you identified, but which was completely overlooked in that moment, in that exercise of identifying the things that are precious in the room. There's something more fundamental to whatever it was that you brought into your mind as valuable. It's something that the mind completely overlooks because it's not a thingness. Ask yourself a question. What allows those things to be? The answer is the space. The space in the room. The space in the room is more valuable than all the things in the room. It's more fundamental because without the space, you couldn't have those things in the room. And yet we don't value space as precious. Because generally, it's the mind that's doing the valuing. And the mind only values the objects that are in space. The things that have beginnings, middles and ends. The things that are born and things that die. That's what the mind values. But underlying all of those things, it's that which holds them all, that allows them to be, and that is the space. So now we come into our mind and to our thinking mind. And what is really valuable to most people is the thoughts that they think and the quality of the thoughts that they think. And yes, they are valuable. They are important. They do create the experience of our lives. But more precious, more fundamental than the thoughts is the space that holds the thoughts. That space that underlies the thoughts, that space without which there could be no thought. The thoughts come into that space and they dissipate from that space. What is that space that's more valuable than the thoughts? So in this time of centering, I'd like you just to step back from your thoughts. Step back into your body. Step down into the present moment and reconnect with the chair that you're sitting on, the floor beneath your feet. Reconnect with the awareness of the breath. Become aware of everything you can hear in this moment. The sounds arise and the sounds dissipate. The sensations arise and the sensations dissipate. But there's something more fundamental than that which is arising and that which is leaving. What is that? Is it not the awareness of the sounds? Is it not the awareness of the chair or the floor? Is it not the awareness that is a space that holds all of your thoughts? Is awareness not more fundamental, more precious than the thoughts? And awareness is not a thing, it's not an object. Awareness is an isness. Awareness is life. And life is more fundamental than the forms of life. Life is the space, the awareness, the unconditioned consciousness. You can call it presence. Take another deep breath in. As you breathe in, blowing the tummy up like a big ball. And as you breathe out, just relax those shoulders, just sigh it all out. And just sink deeper into the awareness of awareness. The awareness of space. The awareness of the pause between your thoughts. It's an emptiness. And in this emptiness, there is the fullness of life. In the pause between your thoughts, there's the abundance of life. Step back into the present moment, into the spaciousness of the isness of just this moment here and now. Take another very deep breath in now. Very deep breath in. A beautiful long out breath. And sink deeper into this moment, here and now. And discover the peace that's in the space of just this moment, here and now. Underneath all sound. Underneath all sensation, underneath all thought or emotion, there is this space. It is the most precious thing in all of creation, and it is sacred. It is the stillness in which we have direct experience with the divine. Take a gentle breath in and a beautiful long breath out. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, just look around the room and just notice the space that holds all the things in your room.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here.
Great. Okay.
Evening and welcome. Welcome to those that joined when my eyes were closed. Welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that check-in. Beautiful, calming check-in.
Good. Good. What do we have there?
We're not sure. Oopsie. What did you do there? Go back with the arrow. Yeah, I don't know. We can't see anything on the screen.
So tonight we're talking about the power of the pause, and possibly some of you may have experienced that bit of power, that touching, that sacredness in the pause, If you did, just send us a little comment. We love getting your comments. We love to know who we're talking to. And if you find what we have to share tonight of value, can you please just press the like and the share button? And we love getting the hearts as well, by the way. We love getting the hearts. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about the power of the pause. We've spoken a little bit about it before, but it's such a very, very useful thing to remember and to be reminded of, because as a species we tend to not like pauses too much or gaps or still points. So we tend to scamper over them and fill the empty spaces as much as we can. So we always have to remind ourselves. So astrologically, I'm not going to do a long astrological check-in, but just suffice to say that even though the sun has moved into Taurus, which is nice and earthy, we still have 4 planets in Pisces. And so the energy is still overwhelmingly Piscean, which is the ocean, it can be, as I've discussed in my video, big waters, big emotions. It can be confusion for some people, kind of sitting at sea without a fog light for people, like not knowing where we're going, not knowing what the outcome is. it can feel a little bit chaotic for quite a lot of people as well, quite stressful, because we tend to be quite outcome driven. So it's also a big opportunity to really connect deeper into those Piscean waters, which is the divine, which is all that is, and to actually go into the spaces that John was talking about, and to go into the pause, to open a gap. So it's not a good thing and it's not a bad thing. It's just an energy. So how do we ground ourselves in that energy? And that's what Taurus says. It says ground yourself. You need some earth to carry all that water. So pause is actually grounding yourself. It's bringing you into it's a very conscious choice to pause and to notice the pause, to be aware of the pause. And so that's what we're going to chat a little bit more about tonight.
It's amazing because the pause is so overlooked by the mind. It's not valued. And one of the things that I teach is public speaking. And one of the most powerful parts of any speech is the pause, the power of the pause, and how difficult it is for someone standing in front of a crowd just to be still and to elicit that power of the pause. Because the mind sees no value in the pause. The ego sees no power in space. It sees no value in space. It only sees value in the objects, in the words that it's trying to communicate. But true communication comes in the spaces between our words.
And very often when you're talking to someone, there's no spaces.
Yeah.
And then it's not a conversation. It's just a one-way stream of verbal words. And so there need to be spaces in our communication with ourselves and others. And so it's the pause in between the words that make the conversation. It's the pause in between the notes that make music. Without pauses, there would not be music. There would just be a whole lot of notes all on top of each other. So we don't value the pause enough. And for me, the pause is the way out of chaos. And it's what we have access to 100% of the time, if we are just aware of it. In fact, many years ago, I went to a little gathering of people down the north coast of Durban. And I can't remember the chap, who he was, but it was like a little meditation evening, and I hadn't really done much meditating. It was many years ago, like 25 years ago. And I remember him clearly saying, if you remember one thing only from this evening, remember the power of the pause. And I said to him, explain. And he just said, in between activities, pause. In between speaking, when you're speaking to someone, pause. Allow the person time to comment. So what we would tend to do is we tend to, and I'm sure you can all probably connect with this, is we tend to go from one thing to the other to the other. So you've got your phone in this hand and you're making some tea and you're thinking about the next thing, and then you get in, you go outside and you grab your keys and you get into the car and you're closing the door and you're turning the car on and you're still listening to something on your cell phone, or you're thinking about the next thing. You're not present in all that time. And then you drive and then you arrive at your destination and you quickly pull the car up and quickly get out the car, and the energy from that journey it just morphs into the next meeting or the next thing that you're doing, and you don't realize that there are no pauses. And so the energy kind of almost, for me, it like collects. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it gets overwhelming. Where as soon as you put a pause in, it's just a little space, and then it's like you can cope with the next thing that you need to deal with, the next person that you're going to speak to, because it's a fresh conversation, or it's a fresh thing that you're thinking about, or it's a fresh something that you're going to say or do. So that's how I see the pause.
Yeah, the world that we have lived in for a long time and occupied has been the world of fear. And the world of fear, fear is an acronym for I am my experiences, I am my activities, I am my achievements, I am my possessions, I am the thingness of life. And that's pretty much the underlying energy, because with all of that is that my experiences are not enough. My things are in danger of being taken. There we are.
Oh,
We're back again.
our signal dropped.
Well, I'm glad you waited
Thanks
for us
for
to come
waiting.
back again. Yeah.
We just
So-
turned the Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, we've gone into data now. Maybe the tower's gone down. Who knows?
Could have.
In South Africa, we have something called load shedding, but we don't have any load shedding at
We
the
don't,
moment.
but you know,
No, who
anything
knows?
can happen.
So the underlying energy that has really been the soup, the zeitgeist that we all swim in is fear, which is, I am my possessions, I am the objects of my life, I am the achievements of my life, I am experiences of my life. And that world is always uncomfortable because we never really have the right objects, or even if we do have the right objects, maybe they're going to be taken from me, maybe I can't maintain the upkeep, maybe they're going to dissipate. And so there's always this feeling of anxiety underneath all of us. But the world that we are stepping into is the world of love. And the world of love is about connection, it's about trust. And it's about trust in what? Trust that the objects won't go, that people don't die. That's illusionary, because all objects come and all objects go. All relationships come and all relationships go. That's the joy of life. If you sat in the same room with all the same people and the same objects your whole life, it would be incredibly boring. The excitement of life is the coming and going of objects. And that's the nature of life. And when you only know life as what it contains, if you only know life as the objects of life, if you only know your life as the objects of your life, knowing that they're going to go, there's an underlying anxiety, fear that permeates every single experience you have. But when you start to see the space, when you start to value the fullness of life itself, into which the objects come and the objects go, the awareness of life is life, not the things that are manifested in your life. When you start to live from that space, that gap in your awareness between the thoughts, so the anxiety and the fear dissipates, and you start to connect with this feeling of oneness with life, And then you can start to enjoy the things of life more. You can start to enjoy relationships more, because now you value the pause. You value the space between things. You value the space between words. You value the silence between the notes of music, for example. You value in your room, when you look around the room, you value the space between the objects. And so you start to elevate in your awareness the sacredness of the space, of that pause. And that pause has immense power. Besides, what you mentioned earlier, and besides what I said about in speaking, if you pause, there is an elevation of power in that pause. In a conversation, the more you pause, the more you enrich that conversation. But besides that, there is a sacredness that comes into the present moment through that power of the pause.
It's like a portal.
It is a portal.
It's a portal. It's like a portal into presence, which is into the all, into the oneness. That's the way I see it. The pause is the entrance into that, the oneness, where we are all connected. Because when we're running around and we left, right, up, down, all over the place, we feel separate. It's that pause that takes us in, where we are connected to all. So it is sacred. It is sacred. And that's why it's so vital. And it's what we don't do very often. We just fill those pauses with noise.
If you think of the divine, for example, the divine is something that can't be divided, that can't be threatened. And is there one thing that you know of that can't be divided? I mean, everything can be broken, everything can be cut in half, everything can dissipate, except the space. You can't cut space.
Yeah.
Another word for space is stillness, silence. Now, while you can pollute silence with noise, the silence remains underneath. It's always there. The stillness
Can't
is
divide it.
always there. And you can't slice silence. You can't have two half silences. There's just
Like
silence.
zero.
Zero is
For me,
exactly the same.
the pause is like the 0 point.
It's a 0 point.
It's like the 0 point.
It is.
It's the point that brings you home, actually.
Now, if you think of the one word that we use and that we abuse, is the word God, G-O-D. And if you think of the G and the D, but in the middle there's a 0. In the center of that word, there's the power of the pause in that 0. That is the sacredness, not the word itself, but where it points. And it points us into that still space right in the middle. And they say that God speaks to us in silence. All else is a bad translation. But if we don't honor the silence, we won't honor what comes into the silence. We won't honor that. So we will be deaf to the guidance of the divine in our lives if we continually filling our lives with activity, with goingnesses, with doingnesses, with acquisitionnesses. Is there such a word?
I think you just made it up.
Oh, good. I coined a new word. And it's to start to notice and to value, because whatever we value, we pay attention to. And if we completely overlook space in our lives, and we don't value space in our lives, we won't see it and we won't amplify it in our awareness. And then we won't be still enough to hear the guidance that life is giving us in each and every moment.
One of the ways that you can practice that as well is just when you're looking at something, to look at the negative spaces. So in art, if you look at a picture, a painting, a photograph, what we are actually admiring is the spaces. And that's what makes composition in a design, in a painting, in a sculpture. It's the spaces that actually make you, it pulls you in. It's the negative spaces that are created when you draw the objects, but it's actually the negative spaces that draw you. So to practice looking in between the spaces, so instead of looking at the actual item, look sort of almost through it and look into the spaces, and you'll see that your whole perspective changes. So when you're looking at a flower and a leaf, look at the space between the flower and the stem and the leaf, and it gives the whole flower a whole new feeling. You're actually seeing deeper in a way when you look at the spaces. So it's just something you can practice. And when you're doing art, you can actually focus on the negative spaces. In fact, that's how people learn how to draw. They draw the negative spaces rather than the person or the hand. So if you're trying to draw a hand and you try and draw the hand and you're not used to drawing, you might draw it and it might look like a bunch of bananas. When you draw the negative spaces in between the fingers, you will draw a perfect hand.
And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that your mind is so attached to objects.
That's right.
And its perception is perverted, is skewed by misperceptions in the mind. But the space, which it totally overlooks, is brand new to it.
It's brand new.
So when you go to draw a space, there's less mind pollution, less mind distortion of the space. So you're probably more able to draw the spaces more accurately than the object.
Definitely
And therefore,
are.
things come into proportion better.
In fact, if you're trying to draw a face, for example, and you're trying to copy it, you turn the picture upside down and cover it and cover half of it. And you will draw that face beautifully.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to read, your mind doesn't read the eye as an eye and the nose as a nose. It just reads shapes. And then you can draw. That's Betty Edwards is drawing on the right side of the brain. So actually seeing the negative spaces is a very creative process, because it takes you out of the left linear brain and takes you into a much more creative space to see things and to create from. So practice that. Practice seeing the spaces. Practice making the space in between what you do. Practice bringing spaces into your conversations, into your life. I don't think there's ever been more of a an urgency, if you like. Probably the urgency is the wrong word for
No,
this
it's
right
a good
now.
word. It's a good word.
Because everything is a little bit chaotic out there.
Yeah.
And how do we ground ourselves? How do we make ourselves more resilient so that we can weather any storms that come? How do we do that? These are all tools that we can actually use. And the power of the pause is one of the most powerful ones that I've definitely ever had. And when I remember it, I mean, at times in my life, I've even had little post-it notes and reminders on my phone to pause. And it helps. It does. When you feel anxiety coming up, or you feel like a worry coming up, or you're just running from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, if you just stop for a second, so it doesn't have to be 5 minutes or an hour. It's just a minute, a second, 30 seconds. So you stop your car, you pause, you take a breath. And then you get out the car. Yeah. It's so simple, but so effective. Changes everything.
So now I'd like to introduce a deeper level to the power of the pause. And this is really, really important. So I mentioned earlier that the divine speaks to us in the stillness, in the space between our thoughts. And I'm going to suggest that the divine is the space, is the sacred space into which all objects, everything in your life, the planets, the stars, the solar systems, they all exist in the space, in the stillness, the infinite stillness of the divine. Now the divine is the womb which gives birth to all things in your life. And the more you connect with this stillness, the more you're able to connect with the power of creation itself to create what it is you really, really, really want in life. And most people are not connected to that energy, to that power. So they run their lives being manipulated by the surface of life, by the form of life. But if you take time to stop and to pause and to go into that space of stillness, you activate the power of creation itself. And you will find miracles unfolding in your life. You will find situations and circumstances arising in your life that seem unbelievable. But that is because you honored that sacred creative energy of stillness within you and within life. And there's a guiding energy that comes into you that helps you make better choices, better decisions, that improves the nature of your relationships, that improves the nature of your communication, that improves the nature of the work that you do. If you pause, you find this incredible energy flows into the physical world through that gap in the doingness, through the gap in the thinkingness. There's a power that comes into your life. It's called grace. So as we pause, we invite grace to come into our life. And it's grace that's the real power of that pause. And there's a teacher who's sadly died now, but he was a phenomenal teacher on earth. His name was Dr. Dyer. And he produced a couple of in fact, there were tapes when he did them, tapes. And you can get them now as downloads probably. And one is the japa meditation, where he goes into how you can activate the power of the pause in your life to manifest. If anyone's interested in that, I could actually send you a copy of that. If you message me or email me, I can send you a download of that. And it's very powerful. What he does, he uses the first 10 letters, the first 10 words of the Lord's Prayer, and he takes you into space between each of those words. Not in the words. The power is not in the words. The power is in the space between the words. And it's a very powerful meditation that he does that helps you manifest in your life that which would enrich your life rather than enrich the ego.
Yeah, and he uses the sound of creation in the middle, so the ah sound.
The ah.
So in between each word, he says focus on the word, so it would be our Father, and then focus on each word, and then focus in the middle. And as you focus into the middle, so you're in that midpoint, you actually say that word, the ah, which is
sound.
basically throughout most of our religions and our spiritual traditions, that there's that word, there's that sound. And it definitely does take you into that gap. He calls it going into the gap, or what's it?
Getting into the gap.
Getting into
The gap, the
does
japa
take you into the
meditation.
gap.
Yeah. If you think if you see something beautiful, if you see, a beautiful sunrise, or you see a beautiful baby, and you say, ah, and that ah is the sound of creation. It's the sound of surrender. You are surrendering to the isness of this moment. And in that surrender, there is tremendous, tremendous power. That is the gap between your thoughts is where the divine lies. In that space of our lives is the richness of our lives. So, for example, if you have a particular worry at the moment, if you have a decision to be made, give up thinking about it for a moment. Just surrender your thoughts about the problem. Surrender your thoughts about the person or the situation and go into that gap. Honor the space. Now, the mind won't want to do that. The mind grips onto all the thoughts. It thinks it can solve the problems of the world by thinking about it. But just try this. Try this exercise. Give up thinking about the thing that's worrying you and go into that gap of presence. There's a wonderful little book by John Randolph Price called the 40-Day Prosperity Program. And in that he teaches you how that the source of all of the good stuff in life comes from the divine. And it's a 40-day program that you do to actually release the old ways of seeing life and to trust the flow of life as the sole provider of your life. And there's another little booklet which is on my website, johnhomewood.net, called The Golden Key. So if you go onto johnhomewood.net, you can download for free The Golden Key by Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox was a preacher from the 1920s, and he used to fill football stadiums, 5,000 people on a Sunday. And unlike me, he only spoke for 20 minutes. And his sermons were profound. They really were beautiful. And there's a little booklet on the Golden Key, which is the secret to creation. And basically he says in that booklet, whatever your problem is, stop thinking about the problem and think about the divine in whatever form you want to see it, in whatever way you want to see it. You want to see it as a beautiful flower? That's perfect. You want to see it as a beautiful sunset? That's perfect as well, in whatever form. And think of what is it? It's goodness, it's beauty, it's compassion, it's love. Focus your mind on that, and magically you find that when you've diverted your attention away from the problem or the situation, and you focused on these incredible feelings of connection and love and joy, the problem dissolves and sorts itself out without you doing anything. So the Golden Key is an incredibly powerful, simple process of creating miracles. Well, you're not actually creating miracles, because miracles are something that happen. They're not created by you. But what we do is we provide the space that allows grace to come through and the miracle to unfold in our lives. And then you start to realize the real power of the pause. Not only does it calm you down and it enriches the quality of your experience, but it actually allows something transcendent to come into your life and transform your life and transform the things of your life in incredible ways.
It's like if you've got a cup that's full already, you can't put anything more into that cup. But we just keep putting more in. And if we've got a worry, we will chew on it and chew on it and chew on it. Is even if we don't have anything that we can do about it at that moment.
That's the mind.
It's the mind constantly saying, you've got to sort this out. You've got to think about it. You've got to chew on it. You've got to think about every possible scenario. And it's not true, because if you let it go just for this moment, if there's nothing more you can do about that particular anxiety, to let it go in this moment and to bring yourself back, to pause. And then when you need to deal with it, then you actually deal with it from that place of presence. It's a whole lot more useful than sitting worrying about it and wringing our hands. And that's what we're being asked to do right now, is that our our journey now is very different from the old way that things were done, which was to plan every single thing and to have everything in a neat little row and to strategize and analyze and have everything. That's the end goal. I'm going towards the end goal. Many of you might have seen that that's not working very well right now. Not for many people. So if it's not working, what is working? And what are we supposed to be doing? And I can just go with the energies that are around, which is to say, it's to surrender, it's to trust. It's to trust the unknown. Can I trust the unknown? And most of us find it very difficult to trust the unknown. So we'll leave it for a few moments and then we'll grab the thing back and chew on it some more. And so it's to actually, can we be okay with not knowing and allow something to come out of that void, that empty space that we always avoid. We avoid the void.
We do avoid
We avoid the void at all costs. Yeah. Don't go into the void. Nothing there. Everything's there. Everything's there. So no things are in the void, which means that all things, everything is there. There's no form. So form can be born from that void space. So it's huge.
The no-thingness.
The no-thingness.
It's the no-thingness. And the one word that we love, that we actually think is going to solve all of our problems is the word understanding. And the word understanding means to put it inside our head in thought. In other words, to contain the fullness of whatever it is in our minds, in thought. And this pause that we're talking about, this space, this gap, is actually to give up the need to understand. Because the truth, the real intelligence, lies in the space between our thoughts. It does not lie in understanding. It lies outside of understanding. So in this moment, it's very, very difficult, but it's the one thing we can do, and that is to give up the need to understand and to trust the stillness, to trust the not knowingness in this moment. And that's when we open ourselves up to this higher intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's about it, I think. Good to know,
okay.
Right?
All right. I'm going to
do a little outro.
Yeah. And just to let you know, before we do that we have a new course starting next month, Journey to Freedom. And the information we'll put up this tomorrow, I think. Eh?
Yeah.
We'll put it up tomorrow. And then we have a new Inner Space coming up for May, and the theme there is grounding. Grounding.
Which is what we need right now.
And the details are on our website, which is journeysofawakening.com.
Yeah, have a look and see if there's anything we've got some lovely communities and some great courses.
And then the other thing also is next month, end of next month, we have a live retreat, a 5-day retreat at the Buddhist Retreat Center in Ekopo in KZN. So if you want to come and do a satsang live with us, come and commune.
Get into the pause.
That's the pause.
Place.
Beautiful.
And we do some art as well.
Yeah, beautiful place. That's
art and nature and meditation and walking.
And the bookings for that are not done with us. They're done directly with the BRC, the Buddhist Retreat Center in Ekopo. So you're going to lead us out.
All right. Let's just close our eyes. Take a deep breath in. And then releasing breath out. And another very deep breath in. And out. And now breathe in for the count of 4. All the way in, 4. And then pause for 2. And then breathe out for 6. Breathe in for 4. Pause for 2. And out for 6. And pause at the bottom of the out breath for 2. Then breathe in for 4 again. Pause for 2. And breathe out for 6. Notice the pause at the end of the out breath. And just allow your breathing to flow naturally without making it do anything. But see if you can notice the pauses between the in-breath and the out-breath. Just on your normal breath. With each out-breath, soften your body and relax more and more. Just allow yourself to drop gently into the stillness. If ideas start to form, just notice them. Bring your attention back to your breath, or you can use a mantra. You could just use the sound ah in your mind. Bringing yourself back. Not judging the thoughts or the ideas. Just being aware of them and very gently bringing your attention back to the breath, to the present, to the stillness. Connecting with this beautiful river of stillness that runs there within you all the time. Underneath the chaos, underneath the anxiety, underneath any worries or anxieties or conflicts. There is this peace. Feel in your body where you feel this presence, this peace, this pause, this stillness. Just see if you can allow it to just be there and get bigger, to expand, so your awareness grows. The more we go into the pause, the more the pauses will grow. The easier it is to connect to the inner stillness that is always there. So just feel the relief of just quietening down the activity and the thoughts, slowing everything down. And feeling in that space where the relief is, which is like a surrender. You could say re-life. New life, new potential, infinite potential. Just bring yourself back to your breath. Not trying to go anywhere, not trying to see anything, not trying to achieve anything. Just being here now. No expectations, no demands, just this. As you rest in this peaceful place, I'm going to read the affirmation for tonight. Let these words just filter in to the empty space. And feel the words. I am that still awareness that listens. I am at peace. Those words really settle in. I am that still awareness that listens. I am at peace. During your week, your busyness, you might want to pause and say words to that effect. And just say, I am at peace. Or I am still awareness. Bring yourself back. Bring yourself into the gap. Into the eternal. Into the oneness. One last time. Deep breath. And out. I am that still awareness that listens. I am at peace. And a deep breath in. Feel what you feel in your body right now. How do you feel? Are you any more peaceful? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you all for joining us
Thanks,
tonight.
everyone.
Thank you for all the hearts and all the likes. Thank you. And if you enjoyed tonight's satsang, please press the like and the share button. Thank you. And I'll post a copy of this affirmation up. I am the still awareness that listens. I am at peace. And the I am is the name of the divine, the Aya Asha. I am at peace. That's a statement of fact. Beautiful. Thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to catching up with you next week for Sunday Satsang with John and Michelle. Lots
Thanks,
of love.
everybody.
Nighty night.
Sleep tight.